SDFC got 5 on it. And they have officially righted the ship with a phenomenal performance against FC Dallas, a team that was one position ahead of us going into the match in the Western Conference table. But now San Diego is number 4th in the West and only 2 points off the second place team. We back, and we really needed it. How did Mikey Varas set up this team for the win? Because there were some changes that really impressed. Who were the players that showed up and showed out this game? And are we back to being our old selves from early in the season? We're going to get into all that and more on the Penalty Kick Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Geo. Yo, we needed this win bad. We really did after losing 3 in a row. I was really hoping for a 2-1 or 3-1 scoreline, but to put up 5 goals and keep a clean sheet, it was utter dominance. The finishing was absolutely critical. Even though the defense at times bent, it never broke and didn't allow any goals this game. I said in my pregame episode for SDFC versus FC Dallas, we were due to return to the mean just based on the law of averages. And yep, it happened. Our offense returned to their normal average form. Peep this. In our first 7 games, we scored 13 goals. That's an average of 1.86 goals per game. During our 3-game losing streak, we were at 0.33 goals per game on average. But when you add in this last game against FC Dallas to the 3-game losing streak, so over that 4-game span, we went from a 0.33 to a 1.5 goals per game. Our offense returned back to normal selves, and the law of averages worked out. So the math is mathing. Glad we got to make that return to form on the offensive end. But let's throw up some game stats to show the statistical dominance of SDFC this past game. Possession is something we usually win, so nothing new there. A 60-40 split to the good. Also, we usually win the passing battle, but you can see just how dominant and how much more passes we had than FC Dallas. Just dominant there. But the stats I'm going to focus on are shots and shots on goal. You can see we had quality opportunities and the players had confidence to put these shots on target today. We had 9 of our 13 shots on goal. And of those 9 shots on goal, 5 went into the back of the net. That is over a 50% conversion rate. That is insane. And what I liked the most about the stats was allowing less than 15 shots in the game for FC Dallas. We have allowed 15 and sometimes even 20 plus shots in a game. So big improvement on the defensive end, stopping those shots. But the stat of the game is only allowing 2 of those shots on goal. With how much San Diego FC scores and can score, if you only allow 2 shots on goal, that's a recipe for a win for us. But don't get me wrong. Let's not overdo it. You know, Mike Geo likes to be critical sometimes. So don't get me wrong. There were a couple defensive lapses, a few bad turnovers in the back, especially early in the first half and a little bit later in the second. Rewatching the game, and if you kind of take out maybe the penalty for Chucky, we'll get back to that, but take out the penalty from Chucky early in the game. FC Dallas had a few half chances that they completely fluffed their lines, whether they shot the ball wide or shot the ball over the bar, which could have been goals and might have changed the game. But again, I like how it was a bend but don't break. We didn't allow that many great chances for FC Dallas. So we have to give props when props are due, and you can't get better than a clean sheet. So props go out to the defense, and our defense did get better throughout the game, and our wingbacks played really, really well. Something I found really interesting was that Reyes showed up on the injury report, which I wasn't expecting, but it took a big decision out of Mikey Varas' hands on who to start at center back. I don't think it should be a big decision, to be all honest, because I think McVay and McNair have a really good partnership back there. They need to be our starting center backs as much as humanly possible. But Bombino and Willie got the start at wingbacks. Big shout out to Chris for calling this back line starting lineup. So Chris, thank you for continuing to comment and put your knowledge of the game out there, because I love seeing those comments. I love understanding how you see the game. And so big shout out to Chris for calling that starting lineup on the back line. And I wanted to mention one thing. I wrote this in my notes during the game. I saw Bombino cut out a pass with a slide tackle very early in the first half. Even though it led to nothing, it wasn't this, turnover that led to a fast break and a shot. No, but I remember thinking, thank you for that hustle early in the game. Thank you for the all-out effort. So big shout out, Bombino, for the game. You did get beat on a give and go once, but no one's going to be perfect. So I really appreciate Bombino's game last night. Willie might not be the greatest offensive player, but knowing he is that solid on defense and he can track back on defense and he gets his nose in the game on defense and he cleared the ball a few times out of the back instead of passing out of the back. I loved seeing that. It's okay to clear the ball every now and then, SDFC. You don't always have to pass out of the back. So big props to the back line yesterday. Love what they produced. But the other lineup changes, maybe the lineup changes that maybe caught us all off guard just a little bit. And it's so hard to predict Mikey Varas' starting lineup. It's like shooting a game of craps. It's sometimes just chance. But I really like the changes up front. One of my favorite players since the preseason, if you've been watching, since the preseason, but even early in the season, is Mighton. And Mighton got the start on the right, which he's usually on the left. But Mighton got the start on the right. Dreer moved to the middle of the park, so the striker position, and Chucky was still on the left. I personally had not thought of Mighton on the right just because he's naturally a left-sided player, but he looked really good on the right. And with Dreer down the middle running at the defense, big props to Mikey Varas for this idea. The front three looked so dangerous all game, even when Valakari came in after Mighton got injured. But think of Mighton, Dreer, and Chucky. They're all natural attackers. They're all very, very fast. They all know how to run in behind, and all of them can take a player on 1v1. This means there are three attackers running straight at the back line, which puts so much pressure on the defense. And Valakari can't always do that because that's not his strong suit as a natural midfielder to make runs in behind. But you looked at the FC Dallas defense, and at times they were all over the place. They didn't know who to track. And also, since Mighton is so dangerous with the ball at his feet, he's fast, defenders have to go wide. They have to cover him wide, which leaves space down the middle. Think of Chuky's second goal. Dreer got the ball and started running at the defense down the middle right. And two players on FC Dallas's defense track Mighton's run on the right side. That's when Dreer then looks left and Chucky makes a diagonal run down the middle. But with those players pushing out to the right, with players having to cover the ball when Dreer is just running at the defense, that's a one-on-one with Chucky. Chucky wins that every time, and Dreer put it on an absolute place. Chucky goes around the keeper, 2-0 SDFC. That is the difference when you have three natural attackers running at the back line. And I've said this since day one with Mighton. He can just go by people. He can beat people 1v1, 1v2, and think of the penalty, because that's exactly what happened. He beat two players and ran right through the defense into the box, and then he earns that penalty, which Chucky puts away. Hopefully Mighton is all right because he did get subbed out in the first half, but I'd love to see him back in the starting lineup up front. So the front three players are going to get a lot of the credit. They have to get the kudos. Chucky, 2 goals and an assist. He allowed the game to come to him. He played within the game and did not press and try to do hero ball. Of course, he's going to go 1v1 a couple times. He's earned that right as Chucky. Dreer, 2 assists and 1 goal. Glad he got his goal. I think he's been needing a goal, and I think he's deserved a goal. But his runs and his passing were absolutely delicious all game. But I want to give some props offensively to someone who doesn't get maybe a lot of kudos offensively. Godoy, Anibal Godoy on the offensive end. Sometimes I really do feel like we put our offense just on one side of the field and we kind of focus on that one side and we play through that one side of the field, which creates a very compact defense, because if we're only playing on one side, you can leave that other side unattended. Godoy switched the play a few times with a few beautiful cross-field passes. They weren't balls over the top where it's just a player then gets one-on-one with the keeper, but they were just amazing switches of play, which made the defense run, which meant the defense was out of position sometimes, which meant our attacking winger on the far side of the field had more 1v1s and more opportunities to go at the defense. And so I thought that was huge, especially with our long ball accuracy. We don't have to go over the top all the time. Sometimes just switch the field of play and great things will happen because, hey, we look good when there's space in behind. And the final honorable mentions, even though everyone deserves kudos, including Mikey Varas, the entire coaching staff, the entire team, CJ Dos Santos and Luca had really, really good games. CJ had a solid game today and bounced back after a few shaky moments in the past couple games. And Luca was all over the tape on the offensive end. Just a complete, composed performance from everyone out there last night. And what a night it was at Snapdragon. And the rain did not stop any of the celebrations. Hopefully we can maintain this same form as we go into our next match, which is an away game. We go up against St. Louis City, a team we tied early in the season. They really do like to play defense, and we did not score against them last time. So let's see if the offense can show out again and maintain their form after this big FC Dallas win. I will catch y'all on the pregame episode, and as always, LFG SDFC.